Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Full Throttle Friday. This is episode 13, and today I want to talk to you guys about a really important message to me, which is accountability. And if it's going to be, it's up to me. And there's been times in my life where if I didn't do it, it didn't get done. And I'm sure a lot of you leaders that are out there that are seeing this can relate to that. And in my role in the company that I work for, there's several things that are reliant on other people to get done for me. Like when I close a deal, I need a customer to open up their email and DocuSign some paperwork. And sometimes it doesn't get done unless I follow up and continually ask them. Sometimes I'll set an appointment that they're not there, something came up. And I have to leave them a voicemail, a text message, an email, a business card on their door, another text message, a phone call, and then I set the appointment. And other times in my life, my wife and I both work, and the kids need groceries, and I may be tired after a long day. Sometimes I drive to San Antonio 2 hours one way, and I'll work down there all day. And if I don't stop and get groceries, they don't come to us. Now, maybe in the future we can automate that, which would be really awesome. But if it's going to be, it's up to me. And taking accountability for things that need to get done in my life has been a main reason for success. The epic impact of taking accountability was what prompted me to stop drinking several years ago, over 8 years ago. I rarely tell this story, but I got out of 3 DUIs in 2 weeks, and I was smart enough to know that it was probably never going to happen again, and I had a drinking problem, and I took responsibility for that, and I reached out for help, and I stayed into action, and that was 8 years ago this past January. And in other areas where I may have collected debt and bills, and they're not going to take care of themselves, and I have to physically pick up the phone and make payment plans and pay off that debt. And it's a really rewarding feeling to do so. And things that help me is creating lists, measurable goals, daily goals, things that I can do, and breaking it down with the 80-20 rule, which 2 or 3 things on that list is going to provide the most value for me during the day, and then accomplishing those things first. And it's very rewarding to check them off the list. Today, it's after 9 o'clock here in my office, and I had about 7 or 8 tasks that needed to get done, and I got it done so that I didn't have to push it out to next week. When employees reach out and call me for questions, or they'll shoot me an email or a text message with something that they want to get done, I'll usually try and take care of it right then if I can, because I know me, and if I don't do it, I like to call myself a procrastinating perfectionist. And there's a funny story relating to this is we have an AT&T box that's still in my trunk, and they charged me for that, and they will give me my money back when I return that box. But it's been sitting in my trunk, and it's been on my to-do list for 4 months. It's a pretty embarrassing story, but it's a true story, and it shows you that if you don't take accountability and do it. So saying it, I know that I'm going to do it next week. I may even drop it off at the UPS store tomorrow just because I said it and called myself out on it. So, when things go wrong, it's really easy to blame. And blaming others for our difficulties, it's just the easy way out. It's really easy to say the word fine, F-I-N-E, I'm fine. And what that is doing is it's avoiding cognitive dissonance. It's avoiding, if I know that something's not fine and it's not acceptable, then I have to do something about it. And if I say that something's fine or I'm fine, in communication to my wife, when I'm really not, if I'm really effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, and I share those feelings, then I'm going to have to confront those feelings. And dealing with issues as they arise, with feelings as they arise, disagreements as they arise, has been a key to my wife and I having a happy marriage. And but the happiest and most successful people are the leaders who get things done and they move on with their lives. So where unsuccessful and unhappy people are people like myself in that situation with the AT&T box sitting in the trunk waiting to do it, or waiting for somebody else to do it. So know that life is a series of endless choices, and leaders take responsibility for their actions. So the point that I'm trying to make is see around the corners of your choices. See the consequences of inaction and the rewards of taking action, and find ways to eliminate get a hold of your time management and eliminate things that take away from that. Social media, Netflix, watching the news, reading pointless articles that really just, for somebody like myself, it's really easy for me to get distracted. So I know that if I wake up first thing in the morning and I'm just on the YouTube or I'm on the Facebook news feed, it affects me. And I have to be cognizant when I wake up to get my head in the game, to exercise, to pray, to meditate, to start a to-do list and task my day, and then focus on the important things like getting my kids to school, like taking care of my body and my health, and so that I can be mentally sharp for my day. And really successful people only respond to emails maybe 2 to 3 times a day. So a suggestion that you can do is get in the habit of eliminating, look at Eisenhower had a decision matrix where he blocked out his day. In the top left corner of his day would be urgent and important tasks, and he would seek to take care of those as quickly as possible. And then in the top right corner of the matrix would be less important tasks, but that are urgent. And then below that, you've got important but not urgent, and then you've got not important and not urgent. So focusing on the important tasks throughout the day, spending the majority of your time there, and less time on things that really don't provide you any value in your life. And doing this will actually change your thinking, and you're going to start to develop habits and actions that are going to be in alignment with your thought process, with your beliefs. And if you're thinking negatively, so if you're a really judgmental person, there's a reason for that. It's because of the information that you're feeding yourself, and it can change with time. The motivation for this talk was 2 books, and it's a very similar title. One is by Thomas Smith, and If It's to Be, It's Up to Me. How to Develop the Attitude of a Winner and Become a Leader. And another one is by Robert Schuller, which is If It's Going to Be, It's Up to Me. The 8 Proven Principles of Possibility Thinking. So possibility thinking versus realistic thinking. Eric Laughlin talks a lot about this. Possibility thinking is that if his 9th grade son works hard and continues to get up every single morning and work on his shot and work on his game and stay with the basketball coach, that it's possible he could play in the NBA. And realistic thinking is that very few people make it to the NBA every year, and it's a long shot. And focusing on possibility thinking keeps you motivated to taking action towards these goals that you're striving towards. And, take an initiative for things that you really want to do, rather than being pessimistic and finding reasons not to take action. So there's a checklist. There's a few things that you can do that will really, help you take action throughout, regardless of the circumstances. And, leaders recognize that they have control and choice over these key factors that they choose not to lose. So even if you lose, learn and grow from it. Like the team that lost in the Super Bowl, the Falcons, I imagine that this is what they're going through, is they're not looking at it like a loss. They're looking at it like they made it all the way to the Super Bowl, and they made a few mistakes, and they're learning from it. And if they learn from it and they make those adjustments, then they didn't lose. They gained so much self-confidence and respect in themselves as a team and what they've done and what they've accomplished. Another thing that another factor is perceived reality. And, there's many so-called facts that are open to interpretation that, are highly dependent on, what's being read into rather than, seeing the world as it is. And too often we see the world as we perceive that it is. And, when I played poker, this is something that I was always thinking about in my mind, is that, there's really three sides to every coin. There's what I perceive it is, there's what they perceive it is, and then there's what it actually is. And so getting into the middle and what it actually is by asking yourself questions, asking others questions, and really being investigative in your approach to life rather than taking things personally or perceiving that you actually know the way that it is when, and this is what happens. There's a really great example of a customer that I sold. She confirmed the appointment. She no-showed me on the appointment. And I knew a little bit about her, that her background, she was a doula. So she's a midwife. And I just took it with a grain of salt. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make the most of this. I was in the neighborhood, and she wasn't home. So I knocked doors. And it kind of bogged me down a little bit. But I stayed mentally tough. And I was really courteous. And I said in a text message to her, I hope everything's okay. Let me know if you want to reschedule. And she let me know that she was called into work. And so we rescheduled, and she no-showed me again. And this time she told me it was because she was called in to work with her client that had actually lost a baby. And it was really tragic and terrible. But I didn't take myself personally, thinking that she just didn't want to do business with me or thinking that it was all about me. I just looked at the actuality is that she wasn't there, and there had to be a reason for that, and not take offense to it. And this is a true story. The third time I went back for the appointment, she wasn't there again. But in this situation, she wanted to call me, but she had her phone on top of her car, and she drove off, and her phone shattered. And so I ended up getting the sale after 4 trips to their house. And so that just shows you that, there's perceived reality and then there's the reality. So focus on the way things actually are and ask questions and really develop a sense of, leadership that how would you feel if you were in their shoes? How would you want to be treated? Give people the benefit of the doubt unless they give you a reason not to. And another point is choosing our outlook. So an optimist looks at the glass half full, and a pessimist looks at the glass half empty. So, what is the best possible outcome? And focusing on these things really helps you take initiative and take action to get things done. And pessimists stress the negative, and they take the gloomiest possible point of view. And while they may be given a tendency towards optimism, or pessimism from birth, they use these as excuses for not taking action. Oh, I just think negatively. It's just the way that I am. When it's not. It's a choice. We can choose to be positive or negative. We can choose to take things personally or not. And there's a lot of this going on in debates on TV, in the news. You got the right side, the left side, the middle side, and people are looking at things, the worst case scenario, rather than asking questions, not taking offense. And it's really important for me to stay out of these debates because I can get dragged into it in a heartbeat. When I stay out of it, I can actually seek to understand rather than be understood and focus on important things like, okay, aside from politics, how are you doing, Dad? What's going on in your life? Rather than talking about negative things that really don't bring us any value. A few more points and I want to wrap up. there's deadly emotions that we all have, and fear is one of them. And to be successful, to really take initiative of your life and to take action, you got to choose to let go of these deadly emotions. So, bitterness, jealousy, greed, envy, these hold us prisoner, and they pull us in towards this prison of isolation, and it makes us feel alone and different and hard to relate to people. And this is what kept me drinking for so long, is that I didn't think that anybody could relate. And when I got into action and I started doing positive things with my life, I realized that that was just my perception of the way that I thought that things were, and that everybody feels these emotions. It didn't, throwing alcohol onto it was just a mask, and it just made me feel isolated and different, and it kept me back from the greatness that's inside of me. So how do you choose your thoughts, right? Ralph Waldo Emerson, a quote by him, he said, "Life consists of what a man is thinking all day." And Wayne Dyer says, when we become aware that we become what we think about, we become really careful of what we think about. So get into the habit of watching your thoughts. And your negative thoughts, just let them fly. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. If it's not positive, the old cliche that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, because your words have weight. And your thoughts will actually determine your actions over time. And your thoughts over a period of time create habits, and your habits create your destiny. So if you're in the habit of creating, just conquering your day, creating tasks and knocking out the important ones, keeping a day planner, checking in with somebody, having an accountability partner, then you're going to be more geared towards, choosing positive thoughts and eliminating negative thoughts. And if you're like me and you're in the past, what I would do is I would just get on social media all day, get on YouTube all day, avoid taking action towards things because I thought that they would get done by other people. You're going to start to get fearful and pessimistic and angry if things don't get done. And that's a fantasy, So if it's going to be, it's up to me. That's my mentality. That's my message today. I cited some of this article that I cited is from Jim Clemmer, and he has a best-selling book called Growing the Distance, Timeless Principles for Personal Career and Family Success. And in the description below, I'll share a link to it. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and check out my YouTube channel for more valuable content. So until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend. Bye.